On my wedding day, Lucas Hamilton's childhood sweetheart, Samantha Sam Yates, threatened to jump off the rooftop. He ignored her and continued with the wedding ceremony until she jumped, at which point he completely panicked. From then on, Lucas Hamilton moved into a monastery and became known as a detached monk. In the name of atonement, he made me do community service, torturing me to the point of losing our child. On the day of my miscarriage, I asked him for a divorce, but he said we owed Sam and had to atone together. He used my family to threaten me, keeping me by his side and tormenting me for the rest of my life. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on my wedding day. This time, I decided to push him towards Samantha Sam Yates. And I would be the one who got away, which made him seek solace in religion. Tell Samantha, she can go die if she wants to, there's no way I'm going to coax her. Lucas Hamilton's cold voice rang in my ears, and I woke up with a start, looking up to see myself in the mirror wearing a wedding dress. I realized I was reborn at what I thought was the happiest moment of my life. Behind me, Lucas Hamilton's face was stern, and his tone was impatient. In my previous life, I was grateful at this moment, grateful that he had always firmly chosen me over Samantha Sam Yates. But now I realized that his impatience was tinged with anxiety. Perhaps his heart had already been captured by Samantha's persistence. But because he didn't want to be known as a cheater, he insisted on marrying me. It wasn't until Samantha died that he understood his feelings and went crazy with love. To atone for his love, he used every means to trap me for life. He became a monk for the woman he loved, but he had no compassion and tormented my child to death. Everyone praised his devotion to his childhood sweetheart and cursed me for interfering, calling me a vile gold digger who deserved to be unloved for the rest of my life. But it was Lucas Hamilton, and who had pursued me madly for 4 years, being gentle, considerate, and relentlessly pursuing me. I saw his sincerity and agreed to marry him. Lucas Hamilton was the one who seduced me first, so what was my fault? Reborn, I won't want this man anymore. I grabbed Lucas Hamilton's sleeve and said gently, Lucas, you should hurry and coax Samantha. Lucas Hamilton was slightly stunned and looked at me in disbelief. After all, every time Samantha Sam Yates jumped out to disrupt our dates, I would be furious. In my eyes, Samantha Sam Yates was a mean girl, an arrogant, rich girl who used her power to bully others, and a childish student obsessed with romance. If they had any private contact, I would throw a huge tantrum. Why was I suddenly changing my tune? Seeing my serious expression, he frowned and said, puzzled, you're asking me to leave you on our wedding day to see another woman? Sophia, do you know what the gossip news will say about you if I walk out of here? I sneered inwardly. Rumors can't kill me, but he can. I pretended to be magnanimous and said, Lucas, I don't care what others say about me, as long as you're sincere with me. Besides, our wedding can be postponed, but you two are childhood sweethearts, and if something happens to her, I'm afraid you'll regret it, and I'll blame myself. Besides, it's a life. Even if she weren't Samantha Sam Yates, just a stranger, I would stop the wedding to save her. Everyone who heard my words praised my understanding and kind nature. Lucas's parents, who originally looked down on me, also showed approving looks. Lucas Hamilton hugged me tightly, then kissed my forehead and said emotionally, I didn't choose the wrong person. Sophia, wait for me, and after I save Samantha, I'll continue the wedding with you. I nodded and pushed him, hurry, saving someone is the most important thing. He didn't hesitate and turned to run towards the rooftop. Watching his back, I clenched the hem of my wedding dress tightly, preventing my hands from trembling with excitement. Lucas Hamilton, in your last life, you hated me for Samantha Sam Yates your whole life. In this life, I'll set you free, and I hope you and Samantha live happily ever after. To show my deep affection, I silently stood on the stage in my heavy wedding dress and waited for Lucas Hamilton for an hour. The audience below watched the gossip on the rooftop while looking at the understanding and kind me with sympathy. Soon, Lucas Hamilton returned, but standing next to him was Samantha Sam Yates in a wedding dress. I almost forgot that in a previous life, Samantha Sam Yates jumped off the building in a wedding dress. At this moment, she was holding Lucas Hamilton's arm with a smug look on her face, looking at me provocatively. In an instant, the entire wedding reception was in an uproar, and everyone's eyes were filled with sympathy for me. Lucas Hamilton looked at me with embarrassment and said, "Sophia," Samantha said, "she has loved me for many years and wants to have a wedding with me to fulfill her wish. As long as I promise her, she won't bother us anymore, so let's just let her have today's wedding." Lucas Hamilton's words caused an uproar in the entire wedding reception hall. No one expected that I would be kind enough to let him interrupt the wedding to save another woman, and then he would come back and make such a ridiculous request. Even Mrs. Hamilton, Lucas's mother, who had never liked me, felt that her son's behavior was too disrespectful and frowned as she reprimanded him. "Nonsense. Lucas, marriage is not a game. How can you change brides temporarily?" Mr. Hamilton, Lucas's father, also frowned in disapproval, but he didn't say anything, obviously already having other plans in mind. Lucas Hamilton also felt sorry for me, and looking at me, he said, "I'm sorry for this, I'll make it up to you in the future." There was a lot of discussion below, and everyone looked at me with sympathy, while others mocked me for pretending to be generous and shooting myself in the foot. But I didn't care at all, and instead showed a look of having suffered a great humiliation, but enduring it for the sake of Hamilton Corp's respectability, saying with tears in my eyes, "It's okay, from the moment I chose to save Miss Yates, I decided to prioritize her feelings in everything." Samantha Sam Yates instantly protested, "Lucas was the one who saved me. If he hadn't agreed to marry me today, I would have jumped anyway. What does it have to do with you?" These words caused the people who were originally sympathetic to me to start speaking up for me. Amidst everyone's discussions, Samantha Sam Yates realized that it was I who persuaded Lucas Hamilton to save her. She looked embarrassed, but quickly raised her head arrogantly and said, "If Lucas didn't want to save me, no one could persuade him. In the end, he still has me in his heart." Being exposed, Lucas Hamilton instantly flew into a rage and said, "Samantha, if it weren't for the relationship between our two families, I wouldn't bother with you. Sophia has suffered so much for you. If you continue to be ignorant and provoke our relationship, then you can go back to your rooftop." Samantha Sam Yates reluctantly reddened her eyes, wanting to say something, but seeing that there wasn't a single person around who would speak up for her, she could only lower her head and soften her tone. "Lucas, I'm sorry. I just love you too much. Since Sophia Sterling is willing to give up the wedding, then let's hurry and hold the wedding reception. Don't keep the guests waiting." Lucas Hamilton hesitated and looked at me. I smiled, left the stage, and headed to the dressing room to change clothes. Before I even reached the dressing room, music was already playing in the front hall. When I entered, I could already hear Samantha Sam Yates's affectionate confession. After I removed my makeup and changed back into my clothes, the people from the restaurant rushed over and said that there was a commotion in the front. I quickly went to the front hall, and as soon as I got there, I saw Lucas Hamilton pinning my nephew, Ethan Sterling, to the ground and beating him. Samantha Sam Yates stood to the side, covered in juice and looking a mess, stomping her feet and cursing, "Beat this lowly thing to death." I rushed over in a rage, pulling at Lucas Hamilton's arm and shouting angrily, "Lucas Hamilton, let him go." Ethan Sterling saw me, his eyes red, and shouted, "Aunt." He was the only blood relative my sister left me, and also Lucas Hamilton's weakness in the previous life. Later, because he felt sorry for me, he jumped from a high building and ended his young life. I also became depressed and died of illness not long after. Reborn, seeing my nephew appearing in front of me safe and sound, I couldn't help but shed tears. But Lucas Hamilton ignored me completely. With a forceful tug on his arm, he threw me to the ground. The next moment, a sharp pain came from my lower abdomen. I felt a chill all over my body. I almost forgot that at this time in my previous life, I was already pregnant. Seeing me fall to the ground, Lucas Hamilton stopped and rushed over to help me up. I pushed him away with red eyes. At the same time, Ethan Sterling rushed over and threw himself in front of me, helping me up while worrying, "Aunt, are you okay?" I shook my head and hugged him, saying, "Aunt is fine." That's what I said, but my lower abdomen hurt terribly, and I had a feeling that I might not be able to keep this child. But that was exactly what I wanted. Although I felt sorry for this child, I didn't want it to be born into a loveless environment, and I didn't want it to have the blood of despicable people flowing through its veins. While I was lost in thought, Samantha Sam Yates's mother walked over, angrily saying, "Sophia Sterling, your nephew poured juice all over my daughter." If Lucas hadn't taught him a lesson, our Yates family would never let him go. Lucas Hamilton also quickly explained, "Sophia, I also wanted to quell the Yates family's anger, that's why I took action to teach Ethan a lesson. Don't worry, I held back, it won't hurt him." I glared at him through gritted teeth. Ethan Sterling's mouth was bleeding, and his face was badly swollen. Was that what he called holding back? Under my resentful gaze, Lucas Hamilton lowered his head, knowing that he was in the wrong. I looked at Mrs. Yates, Samantha's mother, and mocked, "Mrs. Yates, your daughter was standing on the rooftop half an hour ago, wanting to die. I was the one who persuaded my groom to save her. Logically speaking, I am your daughter's savior." My nephew rushed over from school to attend the wedding, but found that the bride had changed. Thinking that his aunt had been bullied, he couldn't help but pour juice on the bride, wanting to vent his anger for me. Do you think that my status as a savior can offset his actions? Mrs. Yates, Samantha's mother, frowned slightly, wanting to refute my words, but seeing everyone looking at her, she coldly snorted and stopped talking. I slowly got up with Ethan Sterling's support. Lucas Hamilton said worriedly, "Sophia, why does your face look so pale?" I ignored him and said to Ethan Sterling, "Call for an ambulance." Ethan Sterling quickly called for an ambulance for me. Lucas Hamilton asked nervously, "What's wrong? Why call an ambulance? I only pushed you lightly, it shouldn't be that serious, right?" Samantha Sam Yates mocked, "She's probably trying to use this method to make Lucas worry about her, right?" Lucas Hamilton frowned, "Is that so? Sophia, I don't like you playing these dirty tricks." Ethan Sterling was so angry that he wanted to fight him, but I stopped him. I said, "Help me to the entrance." Ethan Sterling quickly supported me, and I covered my stomach, enduring the throbbing pain, and slowly walked towards the entrance of the hotel. Lucas Hamilton wanted to stop me, but suddenly someone shouted, "Miss Yates has fainted." He immediately turned his attention to Samantha Sam Yates, picked her up, and said, "To the hospital." I turned around, looking at Lucas Hamilton with a worried expression in the crowd, my heart aching faintly. Even in our most intimate moments, his choice had always been Samantha Sam Yates. If I had realized it sooner, how could I have ended up in such a miserable situation in my previous life? Ethan Sterling comforted me with heartache, "Aunt, you still have me. Don't be sad, I'll always be with you." Holding his hand, my heart warmed, and I smiled and said, "Don't worry, Aunt is not sad." Ethan Sterling didn't believe it, and he said angrily, "When I grow up, I won't let anyone bully you again." As he spoke, we had already arrived at the hotel entrance. Because the hospital was nearby, the ambulance arrived quickly. But before I could say anything, Mrs. Yates, Samantha's mother, rushed out and shouted, "Doctor, quickly save my daughter, she fainted." Then, I was pushed aside with great force. If Ethan Sterling hadn't been supporting me, I would have fallen badly. I angrily raised my eyes and saw Lucas Hamilton walking out carrying Samantha Sam Yates. Seeing me, he didn't feel guilty at all, but instead took it for granted and said, "Sophia, you just fell, but Samantha is different. She fainted and urgently needs to go to the hospital to find out the cause. So, let her have the ambulance. I'll have the driver take you back to rest." My lower abdomen hurt more and more, and I shook my head. "No, I can't. I have to go to the hospital." I knew that Samantha Sam Yates was faking it, and I absolutely couldn't risk my own life. Mrs. Yates, Samantha's mother, rushed in front of me and slapped me hard, angrily saying, "Bitch, what right do you have to compete with my daughter?" Ethan Sterling wanted to fight back, but he was pinned to the ground by the bodyguards. I immediately fell to T. He ground as well, the intense pain making me tremble all over. I looked at Lucas Hamilton for help. He avoided my gaze and said, "Aunt Yates is just too worried about Samantha. Besides, life is a matter of life and death. Sophia, you shouldn't be jealous at this time." Others also criticized me, saying that my earlier act of letting Lucas Hamilton go to save Samantha Sam Yates was just an act. Lucas Hamilton just walked past me carrying Samantha Sam Yates and quickly got into the ambulance. Before leaving, he looked at me and said, "Sophia, you've always been kind, you'll understand my choice, right?" Without waiting for me to answer, he got into the car. Watching the ambulance drive away, I shouted angrily, "Lucas Hamilton, you're a complete bastard." The next moment, someone pointed at my leg in horror and shouted, "Ah, blood, she's bleeding a lot." I was eventually taken to the hospital by Caleb Green, Lucas Hamilton's nemesis. I was a little surprised because at this time in his previous life, he should have been on his way to Canada. The Chin family later gradually transferred their assets there and settled down completely. It wasn't until after I died that Caleb Green appeared. He attended my funeral as my college classmate. I remember that he cried very sadly at my grave and scolded me for being blind. Why would he appear at the hotel entrance in this life? Could it be that my rebirth has also caused many changes in this world? Before I could ask him, I had already passed out. I woke up amidst a cacophony of arguments. I slowly opened my eyes. Following the sound, I saw Lucas Hamilton roaring and shouting at the door of the hospital room. Ethan Sterling and Caleb Green stood like two walls, blocking him from entering. Lucas Hamilton roared, "Caleb Green, what right do you have to stop me from seeing my wife? You're nothing. What right do you have to interfere in our affairs?" Caleb Green snorted coldly and said, "Lucas Hamilton, do you have any shame? You took Sophia's ambulance, causing her to have a hemorrhage and almost die on the operating table. How dare you come to see her? Besides, you're already married. There are reports and photos of your wedding with Samantha all over the place. Even Hamilton Corp has issued a notice confirming the official marriage between the Hamilton and Yates families. That is to say, Samantha Sam Yates is your wife, and you have nothing to do with Sophia now. As her friend, I have the right to stop her ex-boyfriend from harassing her." Ethan Sterling also roared angrily from the side, "Hey Lucas, my aunt said before she fainted that you are a complete jerk and she never wants to see you again, so get out." I lay in bed, numbly listening to all this. As early as when Mr. Hamilton, Lucas's father, acquiesced to Lucas Hamilton changing the bride, I guessed that he would do it for real. As for the Yates family, they couldn't wait to be tied to the Hamilton family, so they would naturally fully cooperate with Mr. Hamilton, Lucas's father. Now that things have come to this, the die is cast. If Lucas Hamilton doesn't want to be ruined, he can only accept this fact. Lucas Hamilton roared, "Sophia is my wife. Samantha and I were just a misunderstanding. Sophia understands me." Caleb Green couldn't bear it any longer and finally punched him hard in the face. Seeing the two of them fighting, I was afraid that Caleb Green would get into trouble because of this, so I used all my strength to shout, "Enough." Hearing my voice, The two quickly let go of each other and ran towards me. Ethan Sterling was the first to rush to my side, his eyes red with heartache, and said, "Aunt, are you awake?" He looked at my now flat lower abdomen and said awkwardly, as if he had done something wrong, "I'm sorry, I didn't protect you." I smiled and touched his head. He was only 13 years old, just a child, and he had already done so well. I said softly, "I wasn't meant to have this child, it's not your fault. Did you ask the teacher for leave? Junior high school is tough, I'm fine now, so hurry and go to school." Ethan Sterling shook his head and said, "Aunt, I'm not going anywhere, I'm just going to stay with you." I pretended to be serious and said, "You're not listening to your aunt? Don't worry, Uncle Chin will take good care of me." Originally, the latter sentence was just to reassure Ethan Sterling, but it was heard by Lucas Hamilton. He pounced over, grabbed my hand, and said angrily, "Sophia Sterling, you're my wife, how can you let another man take care of you?" I lifted my eyelids, sneered, and shook off his hand, asking, "Did we get our marriage license?" Lucas Hamilton's expression changed slightly, and he said, "If you want, we can get our marriage license now." I shook my head and chuckled. "Are you sure? Then how are you going to explain to your parents? How are you going to explain to Samantha Sam Yates? How are you going to explain to the public?" I saw Lucas Hamilton's face turning white inch by inch, but he still didn't give up and said, "Sophia, I know you're blaming me, but I didn't expect my dad to do this. I'll go back and explain it to him clearly. As long as you give me some time, I can handle everything and then marry you into my family in a respectable way." Ethan Sterling wanted to say something, but I stopped him and continued to ask, "Okay, tell me, how much time do you need?" A light flashed in Lucas Hamilton's dim eyes, and he thought he saw hope. He showed a thoughtful expression and said, "I've already thought about it on the way here. Now, the Hamilton and Yates families have announced their marriage. If I publicly announce that this is a farce, I'm afraid it will damage the interests of both families, especially my family. So, I won't separate from Samantha within a year, but I'll arrange a house with excellent privacy. You can live there, and I'll go back to be with you whenever I have time. When I fully take over the company. And when this storm passes, I'll announce to the media that I'm divorcing Samantha. Then, I'll respectably marry you." Hearing this, before I could say anything, Caleb Green, who was standing next to me, got angry. He grabbed Lucas Hamilton and said angrily, "You bastard, aren't you just asking Sophia to be your mistress? You used every means to steal her from me in the first place, and this is how you treat her in the end?" Back then, Caleb Green and Lucas Hamilton pursued me together, but I didn't agree to either of them. Later, I was falsely accused by a roommate of plagiarizing Samantha's thesis. To prove my innocence, Lucas Hamilton looked for evidence day and night and finally cleared my name. That was the biggest reason why I accepted him. At that time, he made me feel unconditionally trusted and loved. But now, I looked at Lucas Hamilton. He didn't know what was wrong, but it was as if I had suddenly stepped on his tail, and he said with a dark face, "You loser, what right do you have to lecture me?" After speaking, he looked at me with a confident look in his eyes. He said, "Sophia, think about it carefully. Everyone knows that you've been with me for 4 years. You won't find anyone better than me except for me. Besides, Ethan still has to go to college in Los Angeles. Without me, how can he make a name for himself here? Even if you don't consider yourself, you have to consider Ethan, right? He's the only blood relative your sister left you." Hearing this, my heart sank, and a surge of hatred rose in my heart. Lucas Hamilton! I didn't expect that in this life, he would still use Ethan to threaten me. If this is what he calls love, then this love is too despicable. Ethan Sterling said angrily, "I don't need your help. I can study hard and make a name for myself on my own. Lucas Hamilton's face darkened, and he chuckled. Ethan Sterling, you're still young, so you don't understand, and I don't blame you. But he looked at me, a flash of malice in his eye. And the words he spoke were terrifyingly gentle. Sophia, you'll agree to my suggestion, right? I laughed and said calmly under the angry gaze of Ethan Sterling and Caleb Green, of course. Caleb Green said disappointedly, Sophia, how could you agree to him? You are. He didn't finish speaking, but his eyes were red, and he looked like a defeated puppy, with none of his previous spirit. Ethan Sterling cried and shouted, Aunt, don't agree to him. Can't I just not go to college in Los Angeles? Let's go back to our hometown. Let's go back to our hometown. Seeing him cry so sadly, I couldn't help but burst into tears. I was raised by my sister. She dropped out of school to work and suffered all kinds of hardships for me. To prevent me from being bullied by the old men in the village, she even married the village chief's son, even though she didn't like him. Later, Ethan's father cheated on her, and my sister resolutely divorced, taking me and Ethan to the city where I went to high school. Although life was hard, it was warm. But in my senior year of high school, my sister had an accident at the construction site. From then on, Ethan and I were dependent on each other. I vowed to take good care of him, nurture him, and let him live a safe and smooth life. Ethan Sterling was also very promising, studying hard and being sensible and obedient. In his previous life, he was the valedictorian of Los Angeles, with a bright future. But Lucas Hamilton, because he found out that I was going to run away, found someone to slander Ethan for molesting a female student and forging his academic record to teach me a lesson. Ethan Sterling couldn't explain himself and was expelled from college, and he became depressed from then on. Later, after discovering that he was a means for Lucas Hamilton to control me, he resolutely jumped off a building and died. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but vomit blood. Ethan Sterling's face changed, and he cried and shouted, Aunt. Caleb G. Green also panicked and quickly called the doctor. Lucas Hamilton said helplessly, Sophia, what's wrong? Don't scare me. I shook my head, suppressed the hatred in my heart, and said to Ethan Sterling, Ethan, be good, you have to listen to me, then Aunt will be happy, understand? Ethan Sterling understood what I meant, and he looked at Lucas Hamilton unwillingly, like a trapped beast. After a long while, he nodded and said, I understand. Lucas Hamilton thought he had one. He put a huge pink diamond ring on my finger and solemnly promised, Sophia, I'll be good to you for the rest of my life. At this moment, his cell phone rang. He glanced at it, and his face changed slightly. I knew it was Samantha's call, and I said to him, you can answer it. Lucas Hamilton then pressed the answer button, and Samantha's sweet voice immediately came out. Lucas, hurry up. The doctor said I'm pregnant. Great! We're having a baby. Lucas Hamilton's face changed drastically, and he looked at me nervously. I also looked at him in surprise, my heart aching terribly. I always thought that Lucas Hamilton's love for Samantha was unconscious, but I didn't expect that the two of them had already had a relationship. On this day that I lost my child, Lucas Hamilton welcomed a new child, the child of the person he loved most. How ironic! With red eyes, I supported myself and sat up, slapping Lucas Hamilton hard and shouting angrily, Beast! Why did you still want to marry me if you had already slept with her? I finally understood why Lucas Hamilton hated me so much after Samantha died in the previous life. Because what he lost was not only his beloved, but also her child. But what did all this have to do with me? It was clear that he hadn't figured out his feelings, and it was he who insisted on marrying me. Why should I pay a heavy price for his loss? Lucas Hamilton hurriedly hung up the phone and explained, It's not like that, Sophia. I didn't do it willingly. It was she drugged me on my birthday. The next day, I warned her to never let you know about this, and I even bought her the morning after pill. I didn't expect her not to take the medicine and to get pregnant with my child. You have to believe me. Sophia, I love you. Haven't the past 4 years of being together proven that? I didn't say anything, but because my emotions were fluctuating so much, I vomited blood again. Ethan Sterling rushed over, pushing Lucas Hamilton while cursing, "Get out, get out. My aunt is about to be angered to death by you. Hurry up and get out." The person who was just unwilling to leave was now acting like he was thinking of me, saying, "Sophia, don't get excited, I'll leave right away. I'll come to see you tomorrow, and don't worry, I'll make Samantha abort this child. Only you can bear my child." After saying that, he turned around and left. Before leaving, he bumped into Caleb Green, who was bringing the doctor in. I smiled mockingly. I knew that Lucas Hamilton was in a hurry to coax Samantha. He said he would make her abort the child, but in reality, he cherished this child more than anyone else. In comparison, he didn't ask me a single question from beginning to end about when I was pregnant or why I didn't tell him. In his eyes, I was just a toy that he hadn't gotten tired of playing with, so what did my child even count for? Next, the doctor examined me and said that I was just suffering from a sudden surge of anger and that there was nothing serious. After the doctor left, Caleb Green dipped a towel in warm water and gently wiped the blood from my lips. Ethan Sterling poured me some water and stood quietly by. I said, "Ethan, can you have your driver take Ethan back to college?" Caleb Green immediately contacted his driver. Ethan still wanted to say something, but I glanced at him. He obediently handed me the glass of water, said some words to take care of myself, and left, looking back every few steps. After he left, Caleb Green finally couldn't help but ask, "Why did you agree to Lucas Hamilton? You are such a proud and dazzling person, how can you be willing to become his caged bird?" I was about to explain when he continued, "I know you're afraid of Lucas Hamilton, you're afraid you can't beat him. But you still have me, Sophia, as long as you're willing, I." His burning gaze met my eyes, his pupils filled with sincerity. "I can help you deal with the Hamilton Corporation." His ears turned red as he finished speaking. I said lightly, "What's the difference between following you and following him?" "It's all the same, being a kept woman of a powerful man." To my surprise, Caleb Green's eyes turned red with hurt when he heard this. He protested, "Sophia Sterling, I'm not like Lucas Hamilton. I don't need you to be my caged bird, and I don't have a damn childhood sweetheart. I like you, starting with your appearance, admiring your talent, and ultimately appreciating your character, that's all." My heart skipped a beat. I didn't expect that. I just wanted to tease him, but I almost made him cry. I quickly said, "I didn't mean that, I just don't want you to get involved in this mess." Caleb Green said anxiously, "I'm not afraid, Sophia, can you give me a chance to help you?" I was a little afraid to look into Caleb Green's eyes. Those eyes, so full of unwavering affection, had shed tears for days after my death in my past life. I remembered that after attending my funeral, he had a car accident on the way back, and his life was uncertain. He was driving himself that day. I looked at him with heartache and said, "Okay." Caleb Green was still rambling on, explaining that he didn't want to take advantage of me and wouldn't ask me to give anything in return. He was abruptly interrupted by my "okay," and he froze in surprise. Looking at his silly appearance, my originally bad mood suddenly cleared up, and I said, "I never thought of staying with Lucas Hamilton. It's all a delaying tactic. I'm just trying to prevent this madman from going crazy. I can't beat him, so I can only play along." Caleb Green said excitedly, "That won't happen now, you can rely on me." I said with a smile, "Okay." In the following days, Caleb Green took care of me in the hospital. He was a pampered young master, but Lucas Hamilton never lifted a finger to do anything. Everything was taken care of by specialists. He was arrogant and selfish, always putting his feelings first, and he would only restrain himself when I was around. But Caleb Green was different. He was very good at taking care of people, and he took care of me very well. Even the doctors and nurses praised him for being attentive. What was even more comforting was that he was gentle and polite to everyone, and being with him was like a breath of fresh air. Looking at him busying around, I felt a sense of regret in my heart. If it hadn't been for the plagiarism incident back then, the scales in my heart would have been tipped towards him. The only reason I didn't agree was that I felt the Chin family was too high class, and I didn't dare to gamble. However, Lucas Hamilton gave me the courage to gamble, but I lost everything. Lucas Hamilton didn't come until a week later. He brought a limited edition Hermes and said ingratiatingly, "Honey, look what gift I bought for you." Seeing that I didn't say anything, he explained somewhat guiltily, "I haven't contacted you these past few days because my dad locked me up. He took away my cell phone. He said the media is paying attention to our wedding, and he was afraid that if I came to the hospital to see you, people would see me." I begged him for days, and even endured family discipline before I could get a chance to see you. As he spoke, he lifted his clothes. I did see several whip marks on his back. But I didn't feel sorry for him. Instead, I laughed mockingly. Lucas Hamilton frowned, obviously unhappy with my reaction. But after all, he was in the wrong, so he came over and acted coquettishly with me. "Baby, you don't feel sorry for me anymore, do you?" I opened my cell phone and opened Samantha Sam Yates's text messages, saying coldly, "See clearly, did your dad beat you because you wanted to see me, or because you got her pregnant?" Lucas Hamilton frowned and took the cell phone, only to realize that Samantha Sam Yates had been harassing Sophia Sterling nonstop these past few days. Samantha Sam Yates had sent me photos of him accompanying her to the hospital for prenatal checkups, photos of him shopping with her, and even videos of the two of them being intimate. As for the family discipline that Lucas Hamilton mentioned, Samantha Sam Yates had recorded the entire process, and in the video, Lucas Hamilton's clear voice could be heard, "I shouldn't have abandoned Samantha Sam Yates after getting involved with her. I shouldn't have run to the hospital to find Sophia Sterling on our wedding day." Lucas Hamilton's face turned pale inch by inch. He looked at me in a panic, explaining weakly, "I did all this to stabilize their emotions, otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get out at all. I wanted to see you. I just wanted to see you." I reached out my hand to him. He squatted down and leaned close to me, and I touched his face and said, "Don't cry, I believe you." Lucas Hamilton's eyes lit up. I said, "Just like you said, I know very well how you treated me these past 4 years. How could I not believe that you love me?" Lucas Hamilton held my hand, and he vowed, "Sophia, thank you for believing in me. By the way, I've had the house cleaned up, and I've also found someone suitable to take care of you." I said, "Okay, then let's get discharged today." Lucas Hamilton happily went to complete the discharge procedures for me. Not long after he left, Samantha Sam Yates sent me another message, scolding me for being shameless and daring to tattle. She also said that she would ruin my reputation. But she didn't know that in this life, the person destined to be ruined was her. I followed Lucas Hamilton to the cage he had built for me. From this day on, I was obedient and docile, never fighting or snatching. I seemed to have become a caged bird who loved him so much that I lost myself. Lucas Hamilton initially came more often, but gradually, he only came once a week. But every time he came to see me, there was a deeper guilt in his eyes. That was because Samantha Sam Yates would come to cause trouble behind his back. He knew it, but pretended not to know, because the Hamilton Corp and the Yates family were already deeply intertwined, and he couldn't afford to offend this young lady. To compensate me, Lucas Hamilton sent me many expensive jewelry and bags. In the past, I would have refused him, but now I have accepted them all. After all, playing along with their act was also a form of occupational injury. On this day, my health had recovered a lot, so I went out on the pretext of visiting Ethan. I knew that Lucas Hamilton had been sending people to monitor me, so I didn't show any abnormalities. But in fact, I had secretly applied for a passport for Ethan, and I had also quit my job and started preparing to apply to graduate school, planning to study in Canada with Ethan and settle there. After returning, as soon as I got out of the car, I heard a crashing sound from inside. As soon as I entered the house, I saw Samantha Sam Yates sitting on the sofa, drinking coffee, her bodyguard smashing everything in the house to pieces. I thought of our imminent departure, and my mood improved. Looking at her, I said, coming now and then, "Samantha Sam Yates, aren't you tired?" Samantha Sam Yates snorted coldly. "I don't have to do anything, of course I'm not tired." I then continue. After saying that, I walked towards the kitchen. Lucas Hamilton said that he missed my seafood chowder, and he was coming over tonight. So, on the way back, I especially went to the supermarket to buy ingredients. Seeing my nonchalant appearance, Samantha Sam Yates said angrily, "Grab her for me." But her bodyguard didn't move, and instead showed embarrassed expressions. I mocked, "Samantha Sam Yates, do you think they dared to touch me? Hamilton married you because he was forced to. Who is the one he cherishes in his heart? Do I need to say it? I live here, and even your parents have to turn a blind eye. Do you think your bodyguard dares to touch me?" Samantha Sam Yates splashed coffee on me in a fit of anger, her face twisted and her eyes full of unwillingness. "You're talking nonsense. Lucas loves me." Speaking of this, she seemed to have remembered something and said triumphantly, "Haven't I told you yet? On Lucas's birthday, I drugged myself and wanted to find another man to relieve my urges in a fit of anger. But he didn't want to. He said I could only be his. He kept calling my name. He said he loved me and couldn't live without me. It's just that I'm too willful. Compared to me, you're more suitable to be his wife." Speaking to this point, she became even more smug and continued excitedly, "So I wanted to force him to choose by jumping off a building. Do you think Lucas didn't know I wouldn't jump? Of course, he knew. He was just afraid that something would happen to me." Looking at Samantha Sam Yates, who kept talking, it seemed that she had lost her life because she had played too hard in my past life. She never wanted to die at all. But because of her game, Ethan and my poor child lost their lives. Thinking of this, I couldn't bear it any longer and rushed over and pushed her hard. At the same time, Lucas Hamilton, who had been standing at the door for a long time, rushed in shock. He pushed me away and helped Samantha Sam Yates, who had fallen on the sofa, asking, "Samantha Sam Yates, are you okay?" After saying that, he glared at me angrily and scolded, "She's pregnant. How could you push her?" I said expressionlessly, "What are you afraid of? There's a sofa behind her, not a cold, hard floor. Her child will be fine." Perhaps it was my coldness today that was completely different from the docile and gentle behavior I had shown recently. A trace of unease surged in Lucas Hamilton's heart. He thought of the words Samantha Sam Yates had said earlier, and reached out dejectedly to pull me over. But I smashed the ingredients I had bought on his body. For a moment, he was covered in seafood. Samantha Sam Yates screamed, "Lucas!" Looking at Lucas Hamilton, I said with a sneer, "How cheap I am, still wanting to make you seafood chowder." "Lucas Hamilton, we're over." I turned around and went upstairs. Lucas Hamilton wanted to chase after me, but Samantha Sam Yates pulled him back, not letting him go. He turned his face and looked at Samantha Sam Yates's seemingly innocent but extremely vicious face. Remembering what she had said just now, he was immediately enraged. He slapped Samantha Sam Yates hard and said disappointedly, "I have been tolerating you in every possible way because of your parents. Why do you still want to provoke Sophia? Samantha Sam Yates had never been hit by Lucas Hamilton before, and immediately cried loudly, "Lucas Hamilton, you bastard, I'm your wife now. She, Sophia Sterling, is just a gold digger. I've already restrained myself by not killing her." Lucas Hamilton said coldly, "Enough. For the sake of the child, I won't make things difficult for you. Now, get out." Samantha Sam Yates still wanted to say something, but Lucas Hamilton said impatiently, "Immediately. Now." Samantha Sam Yates left with red eyes and unwillingness. After she left, Lucas Hamilton hurried upstairs, but the door had already been locked from the inside. Lucas Hamilton said gently, "Sophia, open the door, let's have a good talk, okay?" I said indifferently, "Lucas Hamilton, I'm very tired today. I don't want to talk. Come back tomorrow." Seeing that I hadn't completely ignored him, Lucas Hamilton breathed a sigh of relief. He wanted to say something more, but his cell phone rang. I guessed that Samantha Sam Yates was tattling again. Sure enough, he answered the phone and left in a hurry. After he left, I sent Caleb Green a message, "Pick me up tonight." Caleb Green sent a photo of Ethan at the airport and replied, "Wait for me." That night, I set the house on fire and took Caleb Green's car in the chaos. Caleb Green said as he drove, "I've already arranged for someone to dress up as you and jump into the lake. Lucas Hamilton will soon receive the news of your death." I showed the first genuine smile in a long time. It was all over. Caleb Green frowned and said, "Actually, you didn't have to fake your death." I said, "I can protect you." I shook my head and smiled. "No, only death can make Lucas Hamilton never forget me, and make him and Samantha Sam Yates torture each other." After a pause, I looked at him and said lightly, "Just leaving him, how can I be worthy of the torment I suffered in my previous life?" Caleb Green slammed on the brakes in shock. He looked at me, a hint of panic flashing in his eyes, and asked, What are you talking about?" I answered irrelevantly, but instead asked with red eyes, "Caleb Green, how did you die in your previous life?" Caleb Green still wanted to deceive me, but I said with certainty, "You should have been reborn on the same day as me, right? So, to change my fate, you canceled your plan to fly to Canada. You originally wanted to stop my wedding, but you accidentally saved me. Am I right?" Caleb Green was silent for a moment, then nodded, "That's right. I thought Lucas Hamilton was reborn like me, so the story of this life has changed. I didn't expect that it was you who was reborn." As he said this, he couldn't help but turn red in the eyes, and choked, "I'm sorry, in my previous life, I went to Canada and deliberately avoided all news about you. I thought you would be happy marrying him, but I didn't expect you to be harmed so badly by him." I raised my hand and rubbed his hair, and said softly, "Why apologize? It's not your fault. I chose the wrong person." Caleb Green shook his head, tears streaming down his face. My intuition told me that he was hiding something from me. I asked patiently, "Tell me, how did you die?" Caleb Green said in a muffled voice, "After learning of your death, I was heartbroken. I let go of the steering wheel while driving. My heart ached violently. I didn't expect him to be so silly as to commit suicide for love. We had no contact anymore." I murmured, "Why? I'm not worth it." Caleb Green took a deep breath and revealed a secret that I didn't know. He said, "Because I feel that I was also one of the culprits who killed you. If I had been braver back then and told you that Lucas Hamilton bribed your roommate to frame you for plagiarism, if I told you that I had found evidence to prove your innocence after staying up all night, wouldn't you have been deceived by him? Would your life have been rewritten? But Lucas Hamilton said that you liked him very much, and he asked me if I had the heart to make you sad. I couldn't bear it, and I was afraid you wouldn't believe me, so..." At this point, he was already sobbing. My mind went blank, and tears blurred my vision. I didn't expect that the reason I accepted Lucas Hamilton in the first place was all stolen. Looking at Caleb Green crying sadly, I couldn't help but punch him. He cried like a child, sobbing, "Hit me, I'm the one who harmed you." I helplessly unbuckled my seatbelt, got up, and hugged him, hammering his back while saying, "Why are you so stupid? Do you know that if it weren't for that incident, wait a little longer, maybe I would have had the courage to take that step, and I would have accepted you?" Caleb Green's body stiffened. The next moment, he asked in a trembling voice, "Really? You had feelings for me back then, too?" I couldn't help but burst into tears, thinking that so many years of grievance were because I had mistaken my benefactor from the beginning, and I couldn't help but want to scold myself. How could I not have thought of it? How could Lucas Hamilton, a man who was so stubborn, arbitrary, irritable, and selfish, have stayed up all night for 3 days for me? Caleb Green hugged me tightly, a grievance-filled wail escaping from his throat. I was originally very sad, but hearing his cry, I couldn't help but laugh. I let go of him, wiping his tears while saying, "Don't cry, we missed out on our previous life, but don't we still have this life?" Caleb Green cried and laughed, nodding heavily. That night, we took the Chin family's private plane back to Canada together. The next day, the domestic media was full of videos of me jumping into the river and Lucas Hamilton kneeling by the riverbank, crying like a madman. On a website with the most traffic, a complete version of our wedding day video appeared. The provocative words that Samantha Sam Yates had sent me were also all exposed. Lucas Hamilton and she, this golden couple, were henceforth nailed to the pillar of shame. Of course, the scandals of wealthy families can't shake the foundation of a company, but it's enough to make them ridiculed in that circle. Lucas Hamilton searched for me frantically. He believed that there was no way I could be dead. However, Mr. Hamilton, Lucas's father, and Caleb Green joined forces to cover up all my information. Half a year later, Lucas Hamilton seemed to have accepted the fact that I was gone. He began to pray to the gods and worship Buddha, saying that he wanted to atone for me. He also demanded that Samantha Sam Yates kowtow step by step to repent for me. Samantha Sam Yates refused, so he forced her to kowtow. She rolled down the stairs in the struggle, and there was an avalanche on the spot. In the end, she died with 2 lives. Samantha Sam Yates. E.S. was the apple of Mrs. Yates, Samantha's mother, S.I. After her death, Mrs. Yates, Samantha's mother, desperately wanted to seek justice for her. Mr. Yates, Samantha's father, however, took the Hamilton family's compensation for the sake of profit and let the matter rest, and brought his illegitimate son home. Mrs. Yates, Samantha's mother, bided her time, and finally, at a business gathering, she killed Mr. Yates, Samantha's father, and Lucas Hamilton. It was said that when Lucas Hamilton died, a plane ticket to Canada fell out of his pocket. He had finally discovered my whereabouts, but unfortunately, he never had a chance to see me again. That night, I had just finished my thesis assignment and walked out of my room when I heard Ethan and Ethan Sterling laughing and playing downstairs. When I went downstairs, Ethan Sterling pointed to the Lego castle he had built as if offering a treasure and said, "Auntie, happy birthday." Caleb Green pretended to be angry and said, "You little brat, you're not being fair. We agreed that I would be the first to give you blessings." Ethan Sterling said smugly, "You're old. Who can you blame for being slow to react?" Caleb Green hummed once. He walked up to me, suddenly knelt on one knee, and opened a jewelry box. Inside, a diamond ring lay quietly. He said, "Happy birthday, and, can you give me a title?" I smiled and reached out my hand. My bright eyes were reflected on the glass, and I said with a smile, "It would be my honor. In this life, I will have steady happiness." Prepare my Grandpa Hudson and Grandma Hudson's Hudson family burial plot, set off firecrackers around the graves, thanking the ancestors for their blessing. Our family's luck has turned around. She also hired people to level the old house that had been locked for 10 years, rebuild a new house, and first build a 10-foot-high fence. The Grandma Thompson-esque family behind the house could only look at our high fence, stomping their feet in anger. She also invited the mayor to host a 3-day block party, and even the stray cats and dogs at the entrance of the countryside had a table of meat to eat. Only Grandma Thompson-esque family wasn't allowed to sit at the table. Some people discussed, who says girls are inferior to boys? How many years has it been since equality between men and women? My family's daughters will also go to college in the future. Others ridiculed, I don't know what the old young family is thinking, picking up a slut and treating her like a treasure, driving out the capable mother and daughter. Still others gossiped, she can have an affair once during marriage, who knows if she will find another sugar daddy. The word spread more and more, and even Lisa Ford was pointed at when she went out. Later, it was discovered by someone with ulterior motives that she had slept with old Zhang, the slaughter knife at the entrance of the countryside. Dad Thompson caught Lisa Ford red-handed with red eyes, but she dressed calmly and said, "You are incompetent and accuse me of seducing people outside. Didn't you say that about that dead ghost back then?" Lisa Ford's mistake was that she shouldn't have underestimated the explosiveness of an honest man. Dad Thompson, who was completely humiliated, finally picked up the slaughter knife and killed Lisa Ford like he was cutting livestock. Billy, who witnessed his dad killing his mom, completely went crazy. Their family's affairs made the headlines in the news. Dad Thompson and Grandpa Thompson took the S.A. path of no return. Grandma Thompson took care of her crazy grandson alone at home and was occasionally subjected to his attacks. It was said that life was unbearable. Mom Hudson and I went to a new city and started our new life. There, Mom Hudson opened a specialty fish restaurant, and the manager was Aunt Miller, formerly Widow Lou. She had been working under Mom Hudson for a long time. From the time the child was lost, Grandpa Thompson was completely arrested, and all the secrets were told to Mom Hudson by Aunt Miller. She was once imprisoned by Grandpa Thompson, who threatened her with his murder of her old father-in-law. Grandpa Thompson certainly didn't expect that 2 women who were treated unfairly by fate would join forces. And the weapon he wanted to control others with became the weapon that killed him. Who can tell about karma? Mom Hudson and Aunt Miller laughed and talked about the past and today, raising their glasses and drinking together. The hurdles that they once thought they couldn't overcome, one day they would laugh about them. Just like what it said in the Shawshank Redemption, suffering is only temporary, and the future is even more promising.